Have you ever wondered how a republic that lasted for nearly 500 years could crumble and give way to an empire ruled by one man? Today, we're diving into one of history's most dramatic periods, the fall of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire. A story dominated by two towering figures, Julius Caesar and his heir, Augustus. Let's set the stage. By the 1st century BC, Rome wasn't just a city, it was the master of the Mediterranean. But this rapid expansion brought immense wealth and immense problems. The gap between the super-rich and the dirt-poor was widening. Traditional Roman values were eroding, and political violence was becoming the new norm. The Republic was sick, and its institutions were failing to keep up. This was the world that produced men like Gaius Marius and Lucius Cornelius Sulla, generals who fundamentally changed Rome. They professionalized the army, making soldiers loyal not to the state, but to their commanders, who promised them land and riches. This set a dangerous precedent. Military might could now overpower political authority. The stage was set for an even more ambitious player. Enter Gaius Julius Caesar, a brilliant general, a masterful politician, and a charismatic leader. Caesar wasn't just born into the aristocracy. He was a populist at heart, championing the cause of the common people, which made him a hero to many but a threat to the conservative senators. His conquest of Gaul, what is now modern-day France, was a masterpiece of military strategy. It brought him immense wealth, a battle-hardened army loyal only to him, and unparalleled fame back in Rome. The Senate grew terrified of his power. They saw him not as a servant of the Republic, but as a potential king, a title the Romans had despised for centuries. The tension reached its breaking point in 49 BC. The Senate, led by Caesar's former ally and now rival, Pompey the Great, ordered him to disband his army and return to Rome as a private citizen to face prosecution. Caesar was at a crossroads. To obey meant political ruin and likely death. To refuse meant civil war. Standing before a small river called the Rubicon, which marked the northern border of Italy, Caesar made his fateful decision, uttering the now famous words, "Alea iacta est," the die is cast. He led his legion across the river. This was an act of treason, an open declaration of war against the Senate and the Republic itself. The civil war that followed was brutal. Caesar's speed and strategic genius were unmatched. He chased Pompey across the Mediterranean, defeating him and his allies in Greece, Egypt, and Spain. By 45 BC, the war was over. Caesar returned to Rome not just as a general, but as the undisputed master of the Roman world. He was made dictator. Perpetuo, dictator for life. He initiated sweeping reforms, reorganizing the calendar, giving us the Julian calendar, providing land for his veterans, and extending Roman citizenship. He was trying to fix the broken republic, but his methods were anything but republican. Too many, he looked, walked, and talked like a king. Even if he refused the crown, this concentration of power in one man was too much for a group of senators who still clung to the old republican ideals. They called themselves the Liberators. Led by Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus, they believed that by killing the tyrant, they could save the republic. On the Ides of March 15th, 44 BC, they put their plan into action. As Caesar entered a meeting of the Senate, they surrounded him and stabbed him to death. Legend says his last words were directed at his friend Brutus. Et tu, Brutus, you too, Brutus. The tyrant was dead. But did this save the Republic? Not even close. Caesar's assassination didn't restore the old order. It created a massive power vacuum and plunged Rome into yet another round of chaos and civil war. The conspirators had miscalculated badly. The people of Rome loved Caesar, and they were enraged by his murder. Caesar's right-hand man, Mark Antony, a skilled general and politician, seized a moment. At Caesar's public funeral, Antony delivered a fiery speech, turning the public's grief into a furious mob that drove the assassins out of Rome. But Antony wasn't the only one with a claim to Caesar's legacy. In his will, Caesar had done something astonishing. He had posthumously adopted his great-nephew, a sickly and politically inexperienced 18-year-old named Gaius Octavius, and made him his primary heir. When the news reached him, this teenager, whom we now know as Octavian, was studying in Greece. Against the advice of his family, he sailed to Italy to claim his inheritance. Not just Caesar's money, but his powerful name. At first, no one took him seriously. The famous orator Cicero mockingly called him the boy. Mark Antony certainly didn't see him as a threat, but Octavian was shrewd, patient, and utterly ruthless. He used his inherited name Caesar to rally the loyalty of Caesar as veterans, and cleverly played the political game, initially siding with the Senate against Antony. This led to a complex three-way power struggle. Eventually, Octavian, Antony, and another of Caesar's generals, Lepidus, decided it was better to unite than to fight each other. They formed the Second Triumvirate, a three-man military dictatorship. Their first order of business: revenge. Revenge. They unleashed a wave of proscriptions, systematically hunting down and executing their political enemies, including thousands of senators and the great Cicero himself. With the opposition crushed, they turned their attention to Caesar's assassins, Brutus and Cassius, defeating them at the Battle of Philippi. With their common enemies gone, the triumvirate carved up the Roman world among themselves. Lepidus was quickly sidelined, leaving the two most powerful men in Rome, Mark Antony in the rich, glamorous East, and the young Octavian in the West, based in Italy. Antony established his base in Alexandria, Egypt, where he famously fell in love with the queen, Cleopatra. Their alliance was both personal and political. Together, they dreamed of a new Hellenistic empire in the East, a vision that was completely at odds with Roman tradition. Back in Rome, Octavian launched a brilliant propaganda campaign. He portrayed himself as the defender of Roman values, a man of tradition and piety. He painted Antony as a decadent, Easternized traitor who had abandoned his Roman wife, who happened to be Octavian's own sister, for a foreign queen. He claimed Antony planned to move the capital of the Roman world from Rome to Alexandria. Whether true or not, it was masterful political spin. The final confrontation was inevitable. In 31 BC, the naval forces of Octavian and Antony clashed at the Battle of Actium off the coast of Greece. The battle was decisive. Antony and Cleopatra's fleet was shattered, and they fled back to Egypt. Octavian pursued them, and a year later, facing certain defeat, both Antony and Cleopatra took their own lives. At just 32 years old, Octavian was now the sole, undisputed ruler of the entire Roman world. The civil wars were finally over. Decades of bloodshed had ended. But the Republic was dead, too. The question was, what would replace it? Octavian was a political genius. He knew Romans would never accept another king or dictator for life. So, he performed a masterstroke of political theater. In 27 BC, he went before the Senate and announced he was restoring the Republic. He claimed to be returning all his extraordinary powers to the Senate and the Roman people. Of course, it was a beautifully crafted illusion. The grateful and war-weary Senate, packed with his own supporters, begged him to stay. They showered him with honors and new titles. Most importantly, they granted him the name Augustus, meaning the revered one or the illustrious one. He also took the title Princeps, meaning first citizen. He wasn't a king. Oh no, he was just the first among equals, guiding the state. But in reality, he held all the real power. He controlled the most important provinces, commanded the entire army, and held key political offices. He maintained the outward appearance of the Republic. The Senate still met. Elections were still held. But behind this facade, he was the absolute ruler. The Roman Republic was gone. In its place was a new political system we call the Principate, the first phase of the Roman Empire. Augustus would rule for over 40 years, ushering in an unprecedented era of peace and prosperity known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. He had brought stability, but at the cost of liberty. The transformation from republic to empire, from Caesar's ambition to Augustus's cunning, was complete. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the desire for security can be stronger than the love of freedom. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through one of history's greatest turning points. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more stories from the ancient world, please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next episode. Let me know in the comments which part of this story you find most fascinating. Until next time.